Hi, welcome to Columbine United Church and the podcast on We Make the Road by Walking It. This is Pastor Jill Vanderwall with you here on Chapter 18, Sharing Gifts, for our Sunday that is after Christmas. And wow, I can't believe we are already here on the edge of a new year, 2021. This year has gone slow and fast. I'm sure you can relate in that in different ways. And so today on Sharing Gifts Week, we talk about and read a chapter about the gifts of the Magi. Thanks for being with us and enjoy this reading. They were called Magi. We know them as wise men. They were astrologers, holy men of a foreign religion. They had observed a strange celestial phenomenon, which they interpreted to mean that a new king had been born in Judea. According to Matthew's gospel, they traveled to honor him, bringing valuable treasures of gold, frankincense, and myrrh, precious gifts indeed. One year at our Christmas Eve service, I had frankincense for the kids to pick up and smell, and it looks sort of like honey crystals. I was really worried they were going to try to pop it in their mouths like rock candy. And their giving of the gifts, these Magi were wiser than they realized. Gift giving, it turns out, was at the heart of all Jesus would do and say. God is like a parent, Jesus would teach, who loves and showers his kids, the sons and daughters, with good gifts. The kingdom or commonwealth of God that Jesus consistently proclaimed was characterized by abundant, gracious, extravagant community of grace, of generosity, and of gift giving. It is better to give than to receive, Jesus taught, and his followers came to understand Jesus himself as a gift, expressing God's love to the whole world. So in memory of the wise men's gift giving to Jesus, in honor of Jesus' teaching and example of giving, and as an echo of God's self-giving in Jesus, we joyfully give one another gifts when we celebrate the birth of Jesus. Not everyone felt generosity in response to this new baby. King Herod, of course, we talked about him a couple weeks ago, was furious that anyone who might unsettle the status quo. When he deployed troops to Bethlehem region with orders to kill infant boys, Joseph was warned in a dream to escape. So the family fled south to Egypt, where Jesus spent part of his childhood as a refugee. How meaningful it is that the members of other religions, the Magi from the east and the Egyptians to the south, helped save Jesus' life. Could their role in the Christmas story be a gift to us today? Could they be telling us that God has a better way for religions to relate to one another? Through the centuries, religions have repeatedly divided people. Religions, including the Christian religion, have too often spread fear, prejudice, hate, and violence in our world. But in the Magi's offerings of gifts to honor the infant Jesus, and in the Egyptians' protective hospitality for Jesus and his refugee family, we can see a better way, a way Jesus himself embodied and taught as a man. They remind us that members of Earth's religions don't need to see their counterparts as competitors or enemies. Instead, we can approach one another with a spirit of gift-giving and honor, as exemplified by the Magi. We can be there to welcome and protect one another, as exemplified by the Egyptians. Instead of looking for faults and errors by which other religions can be discredited, insulted, and excluded, we can ask other questions. What good can be discovered in this religion? Let us honor it. What treasures have they been given to share with us? Let us welcome them. What dangers do they face? Let us protect them. And what gifts do we have to share with them? Let us generously offer them. According to Matthew, when King Herod died, Joseph had another dream, telling him it was safe to return to his homeland. But Herod's son still ruled Judea, the region around Bethlehem. So the family went farther north to another region, Galilee. They resettled in Nazareth, Galilee, which would be Jesus' address throughout the rest of his childhood and young adulthood. So having been protected by the Magi and the Egyptians, Jesus grew up as a Galilean Jew. The Jews were the descendants of the Judeans who had survived the Babylonian invasion over 5 centuries earlier. They had not lost their identity while living under exile in Babylon. Nor had they lost their identity over the following centuries, when they survived occupation and oppression by the Persians, Greeks, and Romans. Because the Jews had so courageously survived oppression and mistreatment by others, and because they believed God had given them special blessings to enjoy and share with everyone, no wonder Jewish identity was highly cherished. No wonder it was repeatedly affirmed and celebrated through holidays like Passover and rites of passage like circumcision. Luke's gospel doesn't tell us about the Magi or the Egyptians. For Luke, the next big event after Jesus' birth came 8 days later, when Jesus' parents took him to the temple in Jerusalem to be circumcised, a primary sign of Jewish identity for every newborn son. You can imagine his parents' surprise when an old man, a perfect stranger named Simeon, came up to them in the temple and took Jesus from their arms and began praising God. These are the words of Simeon. This child will be a light for revelation to the Gentiles and a glory to God's people, Israel. He was seen in Jesus a gift for us and for them both, not one against the other or one without the other. Old Simeon, the Jew in Luke's gospel, and the non-Jewish Magi from the East in Matthew's gospel agree. This child is special. He is worthy of honor. He has gifts that will bring blessing to his people and to all people everywhere. To be alive in the adventure of Jesus is to know ourselves as part of the tradition and, through that tradition, to have a history and an identity to enjoy, preserve, and to share. And to be alive in the adventure of Jesus is to see others as part of their unique traditions too, with their own history, identity, and gifts. Like the Magi, like the Egyptians, and like old Simeon. We don't have to see people of other religions in terms of us versus them. We can see people of other religions as our beloved neighbors, as us with them with us, with gifts to share for each other. May we follow Jesus to discover the gifts of our tradition and share them generously. And may we joyfully receive the gifts that others bring as well. For every good and perfect gift comes from God. The activate this week is to look for someone of another faith to spend time with. That's a challenge in these days, but maybe read online or listen to someone else from a different faith. The meditation invitation is in silence. Wow, sorry for that loud sound. That is not a meditating sound. For the meditate this week, in silence, without your dog in the background being noisy, think of a different religion in today's world. Hold it in your heart, the idea that each has gifts to give, and each can receive gifts too. Conclude your meditation with prayer. Hey, to all you listeners out there, wherever you are, thanks for joining us today. And happy New Year, happy new day, wherever you are listening today. We send our thoughts to you.